What up everyone, it's your boy Xmanny87 here, bringing you another Marvel Legends video, and what I have for you today is the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man and Spinneret 2-pack action figure review. Gotta give a big thanks to Shartimus Prime for helping me score this one when I couldn't find this in my area. Before we get into everything, if you could please leave a thumbs up like rating on the video, it'll help show your support for my channel and I greatly appreciate it. Now with that said, let's go! Renew Your Vows. Taking place in Earth 18119, Mary Jane is still married to Peter Parker in the universe that would have existed if Peter had turned down Mephisto's offer in the events of One More Day. Peter and MJ now have a daughter named Anna Mae Parker, who has inherited her father's spider powers. Mary Jane has also put aside her acting career and is now running her own fashion business and blog. But after Regent basically wipes out the superhero community and takes their powers for his own, the Parker family goes into hiding. Many years later, they are forced to resurface and join Clint Barton and the last survivors of S.H.I.E.L.D. in bringing Regent down for good. With Regent's control finished and the superheroes in short supply, Mary Jane feels that it is now more important than ever to look after one another. Once the multiverse was restored after their battle against the Regent, Peter makes her a special suit out of Regent technology that allows MJ to tap into his spider powers so that it can be a carbon copy of his spider powers for his wife to mimic those abilities. She gives herself the name Spinneret. MJ, sporting her new costume, assisted Spider-Man to rescue Annie against Mole Man and his forces as he planned to use some of Regent's tech. Spider-Man and Spinneret defeated Mole Man and gave Annie permission to join their Spider Family team as Spiderling. Together as a family, they went on to battle against numerous villains such as Lizard, teamed up with the X-Men to take on Magneto, and leading all the way to the story's final boss villain, Mr. Sinister. Kicking things off with the star of the show, which is Spider-Man. I gotta say, the aesthetics here look great. I am pleased with it for the most part. Hasbro's definitely moving forward with Spider-Man figures, but typical Hasbro fashion, as they move forward, they also take steps back, and we'll get into that. Looking at the figure here, in vanilla pose and full frame, he just looks amazing. And you know me, I'm a fan of a more bulkier Spider-Man, so this definitely suits my Spider-Man liking. And comparing it to the retro version right here, there's just, man, no comparison when it comes to proportions and aesthetic. This one is just so much better. Like, no doubt is this retro Spider-Man still fun to pose, but when you look at aesthetics wise, I mean, look at the thigh gap here. Like, this is more flush, whereas this is just, you know, he looks bow-legged and it's just way too wide, especially with that thigh crotch going on here. When you're comparing the arms on this one, just like the legs, you know, they're more flush, whereas this one is a little bit wonky. The new legs definitely make this a taller Spider-Man. I do prefer Spider-Man to be more this height. So he is about, I don't want to say an inch bigger, but probably like a ½ inch bigger. And you can tell with the coloring here that this one has a much brighter blue. To me, this is a traditional Spider-Man blue kind of color, whereas this one is much darker. But it's a more dark, vibrant kind of blue, which I do like. The red on this one is so much better, though, I will say that. This is a very darker kind of red. Still looks nice, but ooh, if we had this red on this blue, that would have been perfection. But let's take a closer look at this figure so we could talk more about it. I love the head sculpt here. Man, the glossy eye lens, I'm a sucker for that. That looks very nice. I don't think they put the glossy eye lens on the previous Spider-Man figures. Maybe the Pizza Spider-Man, but they didn't do it with the retro one. It just gives it more of a pop, you know what I mean? And it makes those cobwebbing patterns pop out nicely. The jawline, you know how I am. I'm very picky with Spider-Man's jawline, but I can tell what they were going for here, and it definitely looks like it's the Renew Your Vows comic iteration of it, so I am cool with that. A little on the broad side, but I like it more than the retro one, I would say. The best jawline to me is the McFarlane one. That, to me, is my favorite jawline for any Spider-Man figure. But that's just because my favorite comic depiction of Spider-Man was McFarlane's version of Spider-Man. So, man, I gotta do a head swap now. It's killing me. Oh, I think it sits very well, man. And I think the tone might be a little bit off on the red. But, oh, man, nothing could beat this McFarlane head sculpt for me. Got a webbing that's not connecting to the eyelids, which is a bummer. But yeah, overall it looks good, and the nose is not like super pointy or anything like that, so it's actually just about right. I do like it. We still get that stupid neck gap though. I hate that. So you're gonna be stuck with that floating head. They need to fix that. Oh man, this was their opportunity to fix it. I don't know why they didn't listen to everyone who complained about this one. So come on, man. Just saying, if you took the time to give us a new head sculpt, new arms, new legs, and all that stuff, you might as well fix this neck issue while you're at it. But looking at the body here, you see the upper torso, which looks nice. This is the same upper torso as the retro posable Spider-Man. You can see a bigger spider logo on the chest. It wasn't even that big in the Renew Your Vows comic. It was much smaller than this, so I don't know why they went that big. But does it bother me? No, it really doesn't bother me. It actually reminds me of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, where the front logo is a little on the big side. So it just kind of gave me that vibe. And here are the arms. As you can see, the main attraction here are the pinless arms, because for the longest time, you already know, we had to deal with the red pin eyesore inside of the blue. So yeah, the inner arms are completely blue, no pins. Thank God. Man, that makes a difference. See, this is why I'm such a big fan of pinless. Everything is smoothed out and it is corrected. I love it. And when you look at it straight too, you can see the red lining is straight. Nothing is seeping through into the elbow joint right there. When you look at it from behind, man, that is so nice. Everything looks streamlined and flush as it should be. And man, while I'm complimenting these arms, there is a downside to them. As you can see here, there's a gap at the pegs. So it leaves the pegs to be exposed, and I do not like that. You can see on the retro Spider-Man, everything was closed in, it wasn't visible. So especially when you bend his arms in, they're just going to be visible, and that should not be visible. Another step back that they took was the butterfly joints, man. I don't know what it is, but they decided to go with a new sculpt for the butterfly joints. They're much bigger than the retro one. So you won't get as much range going back. So you get a good amount forward. You could get that little come at me bro kind of pose. But moving back, look at this, man. Look how back I could move that arm. Look how far back I could move that arm. Big difference when it comes to Spider-Man posing. This is a winner right here. And it could still move a good amount forward. Probably more so than this one. It's the same torso. It's just a new butterfly joint. I don't know why they did it. Big difference, man. When it comes to Spider-Man posing, that is key. I was hoping that they would sculpt a new lower torso and crotch piece, so that way the oblique muscles can blend in a more angular kind of shape, so it would complement this upper torso. Because here it kind of looks like he has love handles. They did it best with the 12-inch version. Compare the oblique muscles to this one. Look how it's smoothed out. You don't see any like love handles or anything. You see what I'm talking about? More kind of an angular shape. And in case you didn't know, this one had the superposability with the inverted ab crunch and the upper torso swivel. So, you know, there was no excuse not to get it right, like this 12-inch figure. God, these 12-inch figures had such unique sculpts, man. I really missed this. Oh, wow. I just noticed that the 12-inch one had blue pins on the inside. Huh. Yeah, sometimes they should take inspiration from their previous work, too. Here's taking a look at the back, and this is where it kind of annoys me because everything is aligned nicely right here with the legs, right? But this is not. You see that? You see how each leg is completely off, is not connecting to the leg that's designed on the back. So the legs on the shoulders are completely unaligned with this right here. Aligned here, but not here. That pisses me off. Even worse is when I push it forward, the paint stops completely right there. It doesn't do so much on this side. You can still see some the red seeping through, but not like that. Holy crap, that's terrible. They should have just kept it in the very middle of the back right there, just like the retro one. Even the belt right here is just misaligned. Like, why is this piece higher? The 12-inch one suffers the same thing. So when you bend that ab crunch over, you're gonna get an extended belt, and that just looks awful. I don't know why they couldn't just stick to the retro version where they had it underneath the cut. So that made more sense. I do like how the belt ends with a point right here compared to this one. But the cobwebbing pattern here is not aligned. As you can see, the line right here in the middle of the abs goes straight down, and where the belt is off. Everything is like off-centered. As you can see, the line is supposed to meet the point right there. You can still get some smudgy kind of patterns here. They need to work on their paint QC big time. Yeah, I know it's been pretty bad in the past, but now more so than ever, especially with closed boxes. More cobwebbing paint pattern flaws. You can see the butterfly joint right there. It's not aligned with the torso. Neither is on the other side. Then when we look on this side, you can see the cobwebbing pattern is bleeding over to the blue. Man, is there anyone else out there that's suffering the same cobwebbing paint QC fate that I'm suffering here? This is worse than I expected, man. As we finish looking at the rest of the figure, here are the legs. And you got the pinless legs, so that looks good. Nice muscle definition on the legs. Looks really nice. Here are the boots. Cobwebbing pattern on the boots, thankfully, are fine. No issues there. And then you got the serial number at the bottom of the foot. Now for accessories, we get an unmasked head. So we get this nice Peter Parker portrait, which was the same as the Toys R Us exclusive MJ 2-pack one. And this time we get a digital makeover. So this looks so much better. It looks more realistic. As you can see, it's the same as that 2-pack. Although this hair is a little more brown, where I feel like this is more of a brownish gray. I guess the dad years hit him in this one, so still such a more realistic head sculpt. I do like it. And for alternate hands, you gotta give him the punching hands, so check. Gotta give him the thwipping hands as well, another check. And wall crawling hands, thank God, check. You know I would have nerd raged if they didn't give him his wall crawling hands. This is something that they didn't do for the retro Spider-Man. And that's it for accessories, but I am pleased to point out that if you have the Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man, those web gripping hands, you can swap it on here, and it is perfect because the red tones match, and this makes a difference. Why wasn't this included? I don't know. Hasbro. But yeah, the play factor definitely pays off when you own both of those Spider-Mans. Now, to cover articulation for Spider-Man, his head moves that far up, and they need to go back to the disc hinge because this one looks further up and doesn't suffer that floating head syndrome. And his head looks that far down, left, right, and it does tilt a good bit. Spider-Man can definitely benefit from one of those double jointed necks that have a ball joint at the collar. You know what I'm talking about? That would be helpful. And his arms move about that far up, and honestly, it's not much higher than a traditional T-pose. I mean, compared to the retro Spider-Man, look at that. You get way more range out of that, so it's a big difference right there. His arms move down, and you can swing them around. You got the butterfly joint that I showed you before, moves that far forward, and it moves that far back, not much, so yeah, that's all you're gonna get. You got the bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, which bend in more than 90 degrees. I will say that that is better than the retro posable Spider-Man. So this one can flex more. And you have the wrist swivel and the wrist hinge. Double diaphragm joint that you're familiar with. You know, you got the upper torso swivel and it pivots and it moves that far forward, that far back. With the inverted ab crunch, it moves further down and further back. And here we're going to have some issues with his legs because you spread them that far apart, Spider-Man still can't hit a full split. Come on, man. And not only that, the drop-down thigh mechanic, as you can see, you drop them down, they're supposed to give you more extended range, right? The retro Spider-Man actually has more range than this. So it'll kick high, no problem. Now, I was trying to get him to do a swinging double kick for a pick, bars, and I could not get his feet together. As you can see, they just stay separated like that. But with the retro one, check this out. Drop down the legs and then put them together. Boom, look, his feet are together. So as you can see, yeah, it plays a big difference in posing right here. So I'm going to say that the retro Spider-Man still poses better than this new Renew Your Vows one. I can get the feet together, perform that swinging double kick, and I can't do it with the Renew Your Vows. Wow, that's so weird. But I think it has to do with the way the new legs are sculpted. Maybe it's that, but I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, it looks like this new Renew Your Vows sacrificed a lot of articulation for sculpting, and some of you will be okay with that. I know some prefer sculpt over articulation, but if you're looking for articulation and, you know, getting the full dynamic posing and range, then I would still recommend the retro Spider-Man. If we're just talking about Hasbro Marvel Legends for Spider-Man in his classic suit. To continue articulation, his legs can kick up forward that high, and they can kick that far back. You got his legs that can rock around. You got the thigh swivel, double jointed pinless knees, and oh, so close to heel to the butt. So close. You get it closer with the retro Spider-Man. Heel to the butt is so important for Spider-Man, especially with those crouching poses where, you know, his heel will be very close to his butt. And you got his calf that swivels. You got the ankles that move up that far and down that low, and you can rock them all around. And he's got pinless toe joints that move up that far and down, which looks really weird like that, but you know, this definitely helps getting a lot of those Spider-Man like poses. Oh yeah, it's Spider-MILF time, and she was actually called Spider-MILF in the comics when running into a group of troubled teenage boys, and they called her Spider-MILF. But then Marvel fixed it later on in Digital Comics and renamed it Spider-Mom because, you know, Marvel lost their balls. Check out Spider Criminal's review of this figure set. He actually ends up calling her Spider-MILF throughout the entire video, so I'm not going to take his thunder for that. It was funny, but he starts this new trend with Spider-MILF supremacy, and I found it hilarious. But yeah, Spider Criminal, I'm with you on that because Spinneret needs more love here, man. If you ask me, she's actually one of Marvel Legends' best female figures right now, especially for the year. The head sculpt is really lovely, especially that hair. I love how the bangs cover most of her mask. And you got those dangling little curls on the side right there in front of her ears. You got the nice bun hairstyle there. It's really, really nice. I like it. The mask is really cool too. It's painted in a nice red. You got the black islands right there. The islands are nice and white too, which I am happy about. You got a nice smile going on there. So overall, it's just a really, really nice head sculpt. Here's the rest of the body. She's mostly on the Shriek body, but with that stupid AOA rogue upper torso that I hate so much, with the two gaping holes. Oh man, I don't know why they keep doing this. It's driving me absolutely bonkers, man. You know, especially when you have a pinless figure, because that would defeat the purpose of having it pinless. The point of having it pinless is to make the figure look completely smooth throughout, top to bottom. Then when you have two holes, it's not smoothed out. Again, Shriek doesn't have those gaps. Not one gap on the back. I don't understand why they couldn't just use that torso again of Shriek's here. It breaks up the webbing pattern and, you know, puts a big hole on the spider logo on the back right there. And that spider logo came out really nice, really clean, much better than my Spider-Man in this pack. And then, yeah, she's just so underappreciated because I just feel like she's one of their best female figures. And I hear everyone saying, oh, I don't care about Spinneret, I'm just buying the figure for Spider-Man. But if you take some time to appreciate this figure, it's a really, really nice figure. And this has one of the best cobwebbing patterns to date. I'm gonna have to say, this is actually their best cobwebbing pattern that they did. Forget the paint, right? The paint is gonna be off, as you can see right there. You know, Hasbro can't paint for shit. You know, some is missing alignment, but when we're just looking at the pattern, let's just look at the pattern here. It's got that nice curvy loop, and it angles in and it points at the line where it's supposed to, because let's face it, a lot of the ones that are on Spider-Man are kind of straight. As you can see, it's just like straight lines. Renew Your Vows, you can see that it is almost straight lines. Amazing Fantasy was actually not that bad. You know, the torso's good. You get some kind of curvy loops, but you know, not as straight like the retro one right here. I feel like that was pretty straight. I still have them in heel to the butt. But look at the arms right there, man. They look more like squares. And this one is just perfectly looped in so that the points can meet the straight lines going down. So you can even tell right here on the deltoid muscle. Arms look great, pinless. She doesn't have the baby hands, you know, that's one thing that was really bothering me with the Shriek figure. And here's the lower torso, the hips. You get more of that nice cobwebbing pattern there. Nice plastic white too, not like a pearly kind of color, so it is your traditional white kind of color. Pinless legs look great. And here are her feet. Cobwebbing pattern again continues very nicely on the feet and on the flaps right here on her ankles, which later on in the comics it turned into a red flap with the white cobwebbing pattern. So this is more traditional to her first look. And speaking of the pattern on the feet here, I am very disappointed that she doesn't have the webbing pattern inside of her hands. So none of the hands have that webbing pattern inside the palm of her hands. I don't know why they couldn't do that. And going back to the feet, surprisingly, there's no serial number painted at the bottom, nor on the back of the thighs, nor on the inner thighs. Actually, nowhere on the figure it's to be found. So, yeah, that's weird. But I'm totally okay with that. Now to cover accessories for Spinneret, we get an unmasked MJ head here. And it is the same head that came with the retro Gwen Stacy. And, oh man, I gotta say that the digital makeover here did not land well. When you compare it to the one that came with that retro Gwen Stacy, this one has more of that cat-styled eyeliner makeup. So this one doesn't really have makeup at all. The eyebrows are more angled in. This one's just like more bushy and caterpillar-like. So they're not really angled or curved. They kind of just look straight. So it just makes her expression look, I don't know, it just makes her unprettier. I don't mind the brighter hair because, you know, she's always had different shades of red in the comics. So in this case, the digital makeover doesn't win. And I gotta give it to the retro Mary Jane right here. For hands, she has the closed fist, as I showed you before. She's got the whipping hands. And she's got new molded wall-crawling hands for the females, which is really, really nice. Man, I really wish they painted that cobwebbing pattern in the palm of her hands. I thought that was such a neat touch to that costume. To cover articulation for Spinneret, her head moves that far up and that far down. You got left-right movement, and it's got some really nice head tilting, and it rocks around. Her arms move that far up. Anytime you could get it higher than a traditional T-pose, it is always a good thing. They move down, you could swing them around. She's got the bicep swivel, double-jointed pinless elbows, so good. She could touch your chin with it. And then you have the wrist swivel and the wrist hinge. Torso moves that far forward and that far back. You got the torso swivel right there. It pivots very nice, deep pivot, and it rocks around. Her legs spread that far apart. She can kick up real high, and she kicks that far back. Her legs rock around. She's got the thigh swivel, double jointed knees, and oh, no heel to the MILF butt. Then the ankles can move that far up, that far down, and they don't rock all around for some reason. They just pivot side to side. I'm afraid if I rock it all around, it's gonna break. It has like this stopping point. I don't know. That's just really, really weird. I do wish she had an ankle swivel right there because the flaps would have covered that. Let's kick off comparisons with this new Renew Your Vows Spider-Man next to the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive McFarlane Spider-Man on the pizza Spidey body and the retro Spider-Man. Here is Spider-Man next to the Ultimate Spider-Man. Here is Spinneret next to the Toys R Us exclusive MJ and my Kit Bash MJ Spidey cosplay. Here is Spinneret next to the new Silk, and Spider-Man next to my second favorite Spider-Man villain, Doc Ock from the Silk 2-pack. Here is Spider-Man next to my all-time favorite Spider-Man villain, Venom, the new comic version that comes with Null. Here is Spider-Man and Spinneret next to Mole Man. Lastly, here is Spider-Man and Spinneret next to Mr. Sinister. And now to wrap things up, to rate each figure individually, I'll start off with Spider-Man, as I'll go with introducing a new decimal to my rating system, and I'm going with an 8.75 out of 10. He's in between an 8.5 to a 9 for me. His articulation is not perfect, it's still solid, but is downgraded compared to the retro version despite the new addition of a toe hinge. Articulation is the most important feature for a Spider-Man figure, and it's suffering range in important areas for Spider-Man. With that said, I still had fun posing him around, and I'm sure you will too. The new sculpted parts such as pinless arms and legs improve the aesthetics of the figure compared to its retro predecessor. They just need to work on the oblique muscles and fix that neck area to prevent the floating head. Going through the efforts of making everything else new, but not correcting that past mistake, makes it seem they didn't want to give 100% commitment in improving this Spider-Man all the way through. The paint pissed me off too, so they need to commit to better cobwebbing patterns and paint. They should maybe try a texturing print like Shikla's design, where it wasn't sculpted but looked sculpted, it was texturized and pristine. I have another set on pre-order, so hopefully my second copy will be better. Good accessories, but could have used more, like the Amazing Fantasy. The Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man is the best Spider-Man figure, best Marvel Legends Spider-Man overall, and this one I'll say takes second place. To rate Spinneret, I'll give her an 8.5 out of 10. She's one of this year's female standouts, and frankly, one of their best female figures they've ever put out. This figure is in the bag if I had to make a top 20 Marvel Legends female list of the last 20 years. Articulation is solid, only needs a double diaphragm and butterfly joints. Her design is lovely. I'll say it again, their best cobwebbing pattern they've executed despite some paint imperfections on mine. Still better paint than my Spider-Man, and also not applying the paint patterns in her palm loses some comic accuracy points. The masked head is perfect to me. The unmasked head is just plain awful with the digital touch-up, but the rest of the accessories are fine. I appreciate the new wall-crawling hands. My final verdict for the box set is an 8.5 out of 10. It would have been a 10 for me, or closer to it, if it was a 3-pack with Annie. I hate that she was excluded in the set. This reminded me of the exclusion of Laura for the Logan movie 2-pack set with Xavier. Would have made this set feel more complete. While the two figures in here are not perfect, both bring some key attributes to the line. Both are still a lot of fun to pose. They look great posed together. This will be my main classic Spider-Man on my shelf. Spider-MILF will bolster my Spider-Verse/Spider-Geddon shelf. This pack is exquisite in hand and will satisfy enough hardcore Spider-Man fans and collectors alike. Now I kick it back to you. What do you think of this Renew Your Vows 2-pack that should have been a 3-pack? Do you think Hasbro will release Spiderling in a future Spider-Man wave to complete the family trio? It'll be interesting to see which costume they choose for her. Plus, we need a Regent Bath or a Deluxe. Comment below, let me know, we'll chat about it. That was my review. Please follow me on Instagram if you haven't already at xmanny87. Hit the notification bell so you always know when my latest videos are up. Share and subscribe if you're new. Enjoy the pics at the end of the video. See you on the next review. Peace.